Nobody warns you what quiet actually sounds like. At 10 past 10, the last swimmer walks out of the town baths, and the doors lock behind him. Ines has cleaned this pool at night for 19 years. And every night, at the same moment, the building stops making noise and starts making something else.
7 things arrive in that gap. She could name them in order.
The 7th is the one most people are afraid of, so stay with me for it.
Because if you have ever switched something on the second a room went silent, this is about you.
You know the reflex. The engine goes off and your thumb is already moving.
The house is empty, so the television goes on for company and nobody watches it.
You put something in your ears for a 4-minute walk you have taken 1,000 times.
It doesn't feel like avoiding anything. Feels like normal.
But watch what your hands do the next time everything goes quiet.
Here is what is actually happening in there.
In 2001, a neurologist named Marcus Rakel at Washington University in St. Louis noticed something strange in his brain scans. A whole network of regions got busier the moment people stopped doing anything at all.
He called it the default mode. Your brain doesn't switch off in the quiet. It switches over.
And it goes looking for whatever you have not dealt with. That is why silence feels loud.
It is also why these 7 arrive every time in roughly the same order. Number 1, the noise was never company. It was a job. In 2014, Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia left people in a bare room for 15 minutes with nothing but their thoughts. They could also press a button that gave them a small electric shock. 2/3 of the men pressed it. One man pressed it 190 times. They had felt that shock before. They had said they would pay money never to feel it again. They still chose it over sitting still.
3.5 centuries ago, Blaise Pascal wrote that all our misery comes from one thing: not knowing how to stay quietly in a room.
The first thing quiet tells you is that the noise had a job, and you were the one who gave it one.
Number 2, you were barely here today.
Ines says the water shows her this. She finishes 3 lanes and cannot remember doing any of them. In 2010, Matthew Killingsworth and Daniel Gilbert at Harvard pinged more than 2,000 people at random through their days. Almost 47% of the time, people were thinking about something other than what they were doing.
Half your waking life, spent somewhere that is not the room you are standing in.
The quiet doesn't cause that. It is only the first moment you notice it.
Number 3, the loudest thought is always the unfinished one.
It is never the big things that turn up at 11:30.
It is the message you didn't answer. The form. The call to the pharmacy.
In 2011, E.J. Masacampo and Roy Baumeister at Florida State University found something kind hiding in that noise. The nagging didn't stop when people finished the task. It stopped when they made one specific plan for it.
Not done. Just decided. Written down, with a when.
Your mind isn't punishing you. It is holding something it doesn't trust you to remember.
Number 4, the feeling shrinks the moment you give it a name.
There is a difference between something is wrong and I am disappointed, and it is not a small one.
In 2007, Matthew Lieberman's team at UCLA scanned people while they looked at difficult faces. When they put one plain word to what they were seeing, the alarm center of the brain quietened down. One accurate word. That was the whole treatment.
So in the quiet, try it out loud. Not I'm fine. The real word.
Ines says hers to the water. Tired, or worried, or just plain lonely.
Number 5, your body had been waiting for this all day.
In 2006, Luciano Bernardi at the University of Pavia played people music and put 2 minutes of silence between the pieces. The pauses were only meant to reset the measurements. But it was in the silences that heart rates dropped the furthest, lower than in the calmest music he had. The rest was in the gap, not in the sound.
You have felt this. The long breath that arrives on its own, once the door finally shuts.
Number 6. The quiet is not empty. Something is happening in it.
In 2013, a researcher named Imp Kirst at Duke University was studying sound. Silence was only her control. And it was the 2 hours of silence, not the music, not the calls, that grew the most new cells in the memory center of the brain.
In mice, to be fair, nobody has grown you a memory center by turning off the radio.
But the finding stands. The nothing was the active ingredient. Quiet is not the absence of the work. Quiet is where some of the work gets done.
Number 7. The person waiting in the quiet is you, and you are not what you were afraid of.
This is the one people skip. It is why the television goes on in an empty house.
Somewhere along the way, we started treating being alone as a diagnosis.
In 2003, Christopher Long and James Averill at the University of Massachusetts wrote out the difference. Loneliness is wanting someone who isn't there. Solitude is being with yourself and not wanting to leave. The same empty room, 2 completely different evenings, and only one of them hurts. Ines said once that the pool at midnight is the only place all day where nobody needs anything from her.
She isn't lonely in there. She is off duty from being needed.
That is what the 7 add up to.
The quiet was never taking anything from you. It was handing something back, and you kept turning it away at the door.
Not because you are weak, because the first 90 seconds are genuinely horrible, and nobody told you they pass.
They pass, usually somewhere in the second minute.
So here is tonight, and it is small.
When the door shuts behind you, don't reach for anything. Sit down where you are, still in your coat.
Say one true word about the day. Out loud, badly, is fine.
Then write the one unfinished thing and when you will do it. 2 lines on anything.
Then do nothing at all until it stops feeling strange. That is the whole practice. 1 quiet minute is enough to begin. It always was. At midnight, Ines kills the underwater lights, and the hall goes properly dark. For a few seconds, she stands where all the shouting was, in the middle of absolutely nothing.
19 years, and it is still her favorite part of the job.
Tomorrow the water will be loud again by 7. So will yours. Tomorrow, another minute like this one, waiting for you at the end of it.